I still remember the first time I realized something about my marriage didn't add up, like a hairline crack running through a perfect sheet of glass. My name's Vanessa Cole. I grew up in a small California beach town and somehow ended up running a pharmaceutical company worth hundreds of millions. Folks think money buys you clarity, but it just buys you better curtains to hide behind. 6 months after my wedding to Brad, a charming investment guy with $1 million smile, I was lying in a hospital bed pretending my legs didn't work, watching his eyes flick to his phone more than to my face. "Baby," he asked, checking his watch for the third time, "you sure you can't feel anything?" His voice had all the warmth of an out-of-office email. "Not yet," I whispered, staring straight at him. Inside, my gut was screaming. He was already halfway out the door with some excuse about investors. That's when Marcus, our janitor, pushed in his cart like he'd done for 15 years. Marcus is a tall, quiet man in his 40s with a gentle drawl and a habit of fixing things without making a fuss. He'd seen me grow from a gangly teenager to a CEO, and the minute he stepped in, the whole temperature changed. "Morning, Ms. Cole," he said softly, adjusting my pillows with a care Brad never bothered with. I told him, "Marcus, you don't have to fuss over me." But inside, I was thinking, thank God somebody still sees me as a human being. The accident was staged. My lawyer had whispered the plan after uncovering strange transactions in Brad's name, deleted texts, secret meetings, a power of attorney draft sitting on his laptop. If you want the truth, she'd said, you're gonna have to test him. So I did. Pretended to be paralyzed. Pretended to be broken. And Marcus? He was the only one who didn't treat me like a problem to be solved. Every day, Brad came up with some new meeting. Every day, Marcus stayed. I started asking him for small favors like bringing water or staying nearby in case I needed something. He canceled his errands without blinking. After a while, he asked, "Real gentle Ms. Cole, you sure everything's okay beyond the medical stuff?" No one had dared to ask me that. I leaned in and whispered what I suspected. He didn't even flinch. "If you need proof," Marcus said, "I can help you find it." That's how our secret partnership began. Quiet glances, coded notes, cameras hidden in potted plants and air vents. While Brad thought I was binge-watching daytime TV, Marcus and I were building a case. Within a week, we had footage Brad pacing our study phone pressed to his ear, saying the doctor said it could be permanent. Maybe it's time to speed up our plans. Another clip showed a young brunette stepping into our living room while Brad poured her wine from my father's private collection. "She's basically out of it," he whispered to her. "Soon, everything will be ours." I watched those recordings late at night, my hands trembling on the wheelchair's armrests. "Soon, everything will be ours." That line burned into my brain. "Marcus," I said one night as he packed up the hidden camera gear, "I think my husband's trying to rob me blind." He looked me square in the eye and said, "Then let's stop him." Simple as that. We brought in Thomas Bailey, a lawyer disguised as a rehab specialist. Brad never suspected a thing. Thomas documented every transfer, every forged signature, every whisper. Marcus started tailing Brad's visitors, snapping photos of license plates and collecting receipts from our company credit card. Piece by piece, Brad's perfect mask cracked. The turning point came on a rainy Tuesday. We staged a fake medical relapse. Marcus called Brad at dinner. "Mr. Cole," he said, "the doctor says it's urgent, you need to come home." Brad's voice was ice. "Give her her meds, I'm busy. Call me if it's really serious." We heard clinking glasses, laughter in the background. That was it, the moment I knew he'd failed the most basic test of humanity. I spent that night not crying, but planning. We would hit him with everything at once. No more hiding. No more pretending. Thursday afternoon, Brad came home expecting me in bed. Instead, he walked into the living room and saw me sitting on the couch, legs crossed, heels tapping against the floor, glass of wine in hand. "Hi, honey," I said. "How was your day stealing my company?" His keys fell with a clang. "Vanessa, how are you standing?" he stammered. "Funny you should ask," I said, rising slowly, considering I was never actually paralyzed. He tried to smile. "Sweetheart, I can explain." "No need." I cut him off. "I've got everything here." I picked up a tablet loaded with videos, bank statements, photos of him sneaking into his mistress's apartment. All the little plans you made while I was supposedly helpless. Marcus stepped from the shadows, no longer just the janitor, but my right hand. "Mr. Cole," he said calmly, "you should probably sit down." Brad ignored him, tried to step closer. I laughed, a sharp, cold sound I barely recognized as mine. "Our money." Interesting word for someone who forged my signature and transferred $2.4 million to an offshore account. On cue, Thomas walked in with two detectives. "Mrs. Cole." Detective Ramirez said we brought the warrants. Brad spun around like a trapped animal. "This is a mistake, Vanessa. We can work this out." "Work it out," I said, stepping closer. "Like when you left me in that hospital bed while you wined and dined your girlfriend. Or when you told her I was mentally unstable so it would be easy to take my inheritance." The detectives cuffed him as he shouted empty apologies. "I love you," he cried. "Love," I said softly. "You showed love when you thought I was useful." Marcus showed love when he thought I was broken. They let him out the door. Sirens faded into the distance. The mansion felt bigger than ever, quiet, but no longer lonely. 6 months later, the place had transformed. The same marble halls that once echoed with betrayal now hummed with rebuilding. I'd made Marcus my chief operating officer. Turned out he had an MBA he earned at night school, years of ideas tucked away while scrubbing floors. Together we expanded into 3 new countries, grew the company 40%, and built a workplace where people like Marcus were seen, not ignored. Sometimes Brad writes from prison. The letters come back stamped recipient refused. I don't read them. I don't need to. He's still trying to explain, still calling it our money, still missing the point. One afternoon I asked Marcus why he never told me about his degree. He smiled, humble but proud. "Because honest work isn't shameful," he said. "And sometimes you have to be in the right place at the right time to recognize who deserves your loyalty." That hit me harder than any of Brad's betrayals. Brad saw wealth to exploit. Marcus saw a person to protect. 3 years later, Marcus and I got married, not out of gratitude, not out of fairy tale rescue, but because day by day, fight by fight, we built a bond grounded in respect and realness. It was the simplest wedding I could imagine, right there in the house where it all began. People still debate our story. Some say I went too far. Some say Brad got what he deserved. I say it showed me who people are when the masks come off. Brad failed the test because he saw vulnerability as a weakness. Marcus passed because he saw dignity. And that's what I want you to think about as you finish this video. When someone close to you stumbles, loses their job, their health, their status, do you lean in or do you back away? Do you see a person to care for or an opportunity to take? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was I right to test my husband, or did I cross a line? Have you ever seen someone underestimated until they rose up? I want to hear your stories, because what happened to me isn't just about money or betrayal. It's about character and how the people we overlook can turn out to be the ones who save us.